Hi, how is everyone? I'm running a little late today. I feel a little bit like Professor Irwin Corey this morning. And for those of you who don't know who Professor Irwin Corey was, a trip down the internet might be an interesting journey for you. I can't really explain Professor Irwin Corey in a nutshell. So forgive me as I get wired up here. Yes, I know. I will pay attention to you. I apologize for running a bit late here. Let me see. We got the right mic happening. All right. Yes, I know. We're running late. But here we are. Greetings, everyone. I hope your day is progressing nicely, or wherever you are in whichever part of the realm you are experiencing your experience, whatever that may be. We always lean into any kind of positive outcome because positive is a better form of reinforcement than negative as far as I'm concerned. But negative certainly has its place. But we affirm and decree the positive. Sorry, I'm just getting situated here in real time. And I was, I'll give you a little look behind the scenes in terms of how I do the show or these shows. So for instance, this show was put together last night. I find the star of the day, and then I build around the star of the day. And then I create the horoscope for the day, which is what we look at here on the show. And then if I'm inspired and have something to talk about, I will create the 15 minutes show ahead of time. And everything is programmed at that point. And I just have to really kind of show up. There are some nights where I'm not always clear about the 15 minutes part. And usually what will happen is some kind of idea will pop into my brain and I'll start connecting some dots ahead of time. And then I'll build the show around that. But there are other times where it's like, okay, I need a theme and I need to build around the theme. And it feels like with a little bit more time, I'm able to figure out all my options kind of, at the beginning of the day and like, okay, I can build something around this. And that's what it was. I was creating the build around for part 2. So there we go. All right, let's see who's here. Just a real quick shout out here. Michael showing up at 12:25 a.m. Now, does that mean he's here? I don't know. I don't know if he's here. Now, he said he got here at 12:25, and that's California time. So I'm not sure. No, that's Central time. That would have been what 10:25 for him. Deborah Wheeler's here. Hi, Deborah, and you're welcome. I'm not sure what you're thanking for, but you're welcome. DJ Pebblestone. We're so blessed to have so much musical talent in our crew. Masaki, DJ Pebblestone, David, man. If it came down to a DJ war, we're good. We're good. We could just line David, Masaki, and Pebblestone up and just tag team, right, in a DJ war. I'll put our DJs, and David is a member of Chattaria. We're not even inviting him. We're just David's a member of Chattaria. Think about this. David, DJ Pebblestone, Masaki. Wow. 3 DJs, hot shit, all part of one chat group. I don't know. I'm not sure many chat groups could kind of match it. Although you never know with Frank. I bet you there's some sneaky DJs hanging out in Frank's world. California Contrarian. Oh, Michael. Thank you, Joan. Michael, too. I forgot. Michael was a big time DJ in San Francisco. I forgot about that. 4. We go 4 deep. 4 deep in the DJ army. Wow. That's a lot. And who knows? Maybe there's somebody else in here in chat that can do the wiki. Jackie Delorio. Love to say that name. Jackie Delorio. Honey, we're going to the Delorios tonight. Jackie's preparing her famous Big Ziti. Let's not forget the limoncello this time. Moira in New York, what's happening? Sigurd. Uh-oh. I bet you Sigurd can fucking wreck a deck. I bet you Sigurd comes in with that sneaky Aphex Twin square pusher. He comes in with that sneaky Aphex Twin square pusher shit. By the way, Sigurd, I saw Ronnie Size one time. Actually, a very impressive show. And our good friend Sigurd is 5 days into the Wuhan flu, and the unrepentant radio station of the future only plays down-tempo Taylor Swift covers of Joy Division. Oh. I'm waiting for the day. I was actually at a store the other day where they were playing Muzak. I haven't heard Muzak. And where was I? I was walking around. I was digging the Muzak. Where the fuck was I? I'm like, man, listen to this. And it was all contemporary shit. Mostly like they had a Muzak version of Black Cowboys. Like I would love a Muzak radio station with Muzak versions of Nirvana and Joy Division and The Cure. Like I think that's the future of music. Maybe I could just build an AI Muzak station just based on all that music. Meow meow kitty poop. Nor is she the queen of speed. What's happening? Sue Leonard, Christina Jerzyk. You know, Christina and I go all the way back to the Facebook days. And Christina and Scott were students. They studied some astrology under yours truly. And it's always good to see them here and good reconnecting with them. Our man Steve Thor at the door. What's going on? Brother Steve Moonsprout. Joe Litke, got to throw this up there. Like, subscribe, get some gummy and sleep through election season. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Brandy Herrera. Tom Jordan in the house. Green Eyed Crow. Mary Lee. There's Scott and Nightlight. I'm working early voting for the election here in Las Vegas. As a supervisor, I need to fix machines. Interesting. This seems to be only Republicans having voting issues. A call across the nation seems to reflect that, reinforce that. Yes, hit that like and subscribe. Thank you, Tom. Big Dave Sullivan's here. What's happening? My man, Ryan. Sign up and join locals. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. And there she is, the lovely and talented one. Saving Austin one tooth at a time. So Tamara's driving to the dog walk. All right. I don't miss laundromats. Somebody hitting the laundromat. Darlene's here. Magic Mika's here. Hi, Magic Mika. Down the Wombat Hole, Evie Rob, and all final archetypal preparations for Mars opposite Pluto with the side dose of Mars trine Neptune. Yeah, man, it really feels like that Mars-Pluto opposition just feels like Israel. It just feels like Blinken is over in Israel. Did some like bomb go off over Blinken's hotel in Israel? Something big's going to go down there. And I think that's that Mars Pluto opposition. Thanks for the reminder, Wombat. Matt Burns. Hey, Matt. Maria d'Ange. The energy is always uplifting and electric. That's right. That is right. We have tapped into 0 point. We channel the void here. Did you create this explanation part? That would be delightfully meta. Let's see what else we have here. Jeff Rosen in the house. Had a good chat with Jeffrey yesterday. Harriet Bowie. Hey. Mary Grether. Hi, Mary. I may miss a few along the way as I'm scrolling through. Doing my best to get to the end. Speaking of David, he said we'd all feel tired with one of the astrological situations, and that's totally true. Well, yesterday who was in the barrel yesterday? Pimps or Hoes with the 4DJ Army. I'm telling you, man, we could take on almost any fucking chat group with those four. Formidable. There's Michael bringing the headphones. You got that, brother. Let's see. Indeed, I DJ techno as a teenager. 20-something. I knew it. Cali waiting music. A call waiting to panpipe covers. Zamfir cannot be under. Zamfir was a giant. Zamfir was a musical fucking giant. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All right, let's get into the weather. I could chat with you guys all day. I am the conversation card. Okay, here we go. Do I have it right? Yeah, I got it right. All right. Are you guys feeling the Scorpio? Have you felt the Scorpio? Is the Scorpio rising up? It's really funny. I had this client yesterday. Great dude. Really great dude. And super session. And towards the end of the session, he asked me about, because there was a very interesting Sabian symbol in his chart. We were talking about it. And it's a flag becoming an eagle. So it's a symbol of the ideal becoming the personification of the ideal. And it's like this symbolic shapeshift. And and it's also connected to this other symbol. An eagle becomes a chanticleer crying its call in the morning or something like that. And so you have this interesting kind of transmogrification of the eagle to the chanticleer, which is a rooster. And then he brought up the basilisk. And I was familiar with the word basilisk. Like I would see it, but I had never gone down the basilisk rabbit hole. Let me tell you, that started my Scorpio season. I'm going to bring up the basilisk on Sunday night. We're going full basilisk on Sunday night. Okay. Like we're going there. You can look it up. Basilisk. And, that's what kicked off my Scorpio season. Like, okay, let's go there. Let's go all the way there. Because it's creepy. The basilisk is fucking creepy. Anyway, the Sun-Pluto square is on. Our moon has moved into Leo. And now we have yesterday we had the Moon-Mars conjunction, which was hot, baby. It was hot. People were hot under the collar. Sometimes I give thanks that I am a hermit, because I know that there were a number of people out there in the world, in a professional sense, that were, or even in a personal sense in the world, that had to do with some steaming situations. Well, it doesn't get much better today, because now this moon sun square, it's fixed, right? It's fixed. Pride goeth before the fall. That's your moon in Leo. It's still in opposition with Pluto, by the way, at this time, although it is separating. And so by the time we hit the early evening hours, luckily the moon will begin to separate from the sun as well. So we'll have it in a more tighter square with Mercury. That's a different conversation. We could probably get into it. But like, this is kind of the, okay, here's okay, this is what I would say with this. Not me personally, but the theme is, I'm going to hurt your feelings before you hurt mine. That's the theme. I'm going to hurt your feelings before you hurt mine. Now that may not be you, but it might be people in your sphere. Like, where are you coming from with this? Where are you coming from? You know, I had a little bit of that yesterday on Twitter. And so there's this rumor, which may not be entirely unfounded, that the shit is going to hit the fan today in Harris's campaign. Something, supposedly something big is coming up. And astrologically, the pieces fit together. I'm going to talk about it over on 15. And so I put it up last night and on Twitter, and I said, you know, it was we're looking at the Mars square, like the big Mars square, squaring her moon and squaring her sun, like incoming, hot, right? David chimed in and he brought up the Saturn conjunction with Chiron in her chart, which is pretty big as well. And so I put it out there, and this guy comes in and he says, his name is the Winking Raccoon. He says, you really hate Harris, don't you? You know, and I had to think about it. Like, well, how am I going to respond to this? And I said, no, I don't hate her, because Kamala Harris is not worthy of hate. There are genocidal demons that are wiping out an entire group of people in a civilization that are worthy of hate. I'm just throwing it out there. They're worthy of hate. Kamala Harris is not worthy of hate. I detest Kamala Harris because she's fraudulent at every level, and she is in the act of committing an act of fraud on the American people. It's and we've seen it before. I've talked. So I think it's detestable, and I don't care who it is. If they're fraudulent, I'm gonna call it out. Hell, I've called Trump out before. You know, I am an equal opportunity caller outer. So then he comes back and he says, well, you seem to use astrology to back up your political beliefs. Okay, so what is it? Do I hate her or am I biased? Like that was the question. Do I hate her or am I biased? And then I said, look, I've been doing this for 14 years. You're late to my party. I've been doing this for 14 years. Go back. You can look at my stuff. I got lots of positions. I have lots of positions. I have lots of different takes. Can you tell the Leo moon's kicking in? I have lots of positions, lots of different takes. You know, I mean, I try to call it the way I see it. Do we all have a bias? Sure we do. If we don't have some kind of a bias, we're not living in the world. You know, you're not completely just an objective piece of stone. That just, you know, you're not a watcher, or maybe somebody is, but most people aren't. And I feel like this is kind of what's going on. You know, people are going to be really in their feelings, And I would say there's a lot of indignation. You know, with Cancer Moon, it's not about indignation. Then I mean, that's really deep in the feelings. Like yesterday was a big feeling day. Like, you know, and Mars is there and is kind of working out this Cancerian angst around, you know, feeling like unsafe and the environment is kind of unstable. And, you know, it feels we're kind of on the precipice of this really tectonic moment historically. And people are feeling that, you know, they're feeling it. And people who were extremely sensitive yesterday were way feeling it. But today is different. It's sort of like, okay, I'm putting on the armor. I'm not going to be the sensitive. I'm not going to be the sensitive. I'm feeling it, passive aggressive type today. No, today you're going to know how I feel. Right? So that's the moon sun square, and it's fixed. And these fixed squares, man, they're not easy. Because like I said yesterday, once you hit them, you can't come off of them. And once the damage is done, it's done. And you'll have to wait for another kind of fixed moment to, you know, have some TNT and kind of blow it up again and see if you can reassemble the pieces. Now we're all looking at this Mars-Pluto opposition, and that's a big one. That's coming down the pipe, and man, it's heading just before election night. Election night, Mars is at 0 Leo, and man, that Mars is at that anaretic degree of Cancer, lined up at that Pluto in the final. It's the final stay in Capricorn. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but nonetheless, the energy is being primed right now. Primed. That Sun-Pluto square still in effect. You know, it's very intense. People are. There's how do I say this? It's very hard to follow the middle path today. All that Libra's behind us now. Now, there can be some benefits with the Sun-Pluto square. If you are forced to engage with your life in a life or death situation, that's a good square to have. Like, it will move your ass into action. But I think from a social perspective, what's going on globally, you know, it's like with these transits, it tends to, you know, they tend to build up momentum. And the momentum is not just a byproduct of what's going on astrologically, but what's going on emotionally for people. So we could, like, let's go back in time. You know, Pluto's in Sagittarius. And we have, say, the sun in Pisces. So it's squaring Pluto, right? But Pluto was in Sagittarius. It was during the early 2000s, in the 90s. So that Sun-Pluto square would be very, very different just because it's a Sun-Pluto square. Also, you know, we're talking mutable energy. So that's different in and of itself, right? But when you have a Sun-Pluto square happening now, in terms of like all of this emotional theater that is being played out, right? Everybody's on edge. Like, did you guys see the not everybody, I have to qualify myself. Not everybody, a lot of people are on edge. Did you see the video of the crazy lady that came up to the house that had the Trump sign on the lawn? Like, this is fucking, I'm sorry. I think that woman was probably a boomer. I'm guessing she was born right around maybe 1946, maybe 1947. And she comes up to the door and you're seeing the whole thing be recorded through their Ring camera. And she's flipping him off and saying, fuck you. Right? Like, that's what I'm talking about. You know, this is how people have been primed, psychologically primed. This is all like Tavistock shit. This is all Frankfurt School shit. And people don't understand how manipulated they've been. And the manipulation happens on both sides. I'm going to be fair about that. And we're reaching peak levels of manipulation and people being thrust into defending their positions, which quite frankly aren't even their own. They are programmed positions. It's, there's this interesting thing happening. Humans are becoming more like robots, and robots will become more like humans. You have to kind of wonder, like, are they siphoning off all these human qualities, through the internet or through social media interactions or whatever, right? And somehow they're able to catch it in a transmogrifier and then fire those human attributes into the robot army, right? Or the inception of robotic intelligence, which will more than likely be far more human on some level than most humans are now. Most humans, not all, but most humans are robotic. They're robotic. And I'm watching this. I'm like, fuck, they've turned that person into a mechanical being. Maybe mechanical is even too kind of a word. And what does she do, man? She's like a fucking attack. She is like those weird robot dogs from Boston Dynamics. That's what she is. She's just like a weird little attack dog going to her neighbor's house. Like, we never did this in this country. You might have had a small beef with your neighbor. Hey, they're playing their music too loud again. Oh, that's all right, honey. They usually turn it off by 11. And they usually turn off by 11. And it's like, okay. Oh yeah, that guy helped me put up my fence. I'll cut him a little slack. Yeah, he probably has a stressful, life, right? Like, we were like that. We were more forgiving people. Now it's just gone out the door. So to me, this T-square, if we want to throw in the Grand Cross, that's what it's about. Like, I feel like we have to really re-examine this. We have to even that guy that was on Twitter, how did I end my tweet? I said, fare thee well, sir. Like, I was going to give him something at the end that, like, hey, you're fucking wrong. You're wrong on 3 counts, but I'm not going to rub your nose in it. It's like, hey, fare thee well. You're a human, right? We become so used to being polarized. And look, do I need to be best buddies with that guy? No. Do I need him to like me? No, I don't. But this is just me. We got to find a new way to interact with each other. And it doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your position. When you're an effective communicator, you can get your point across, and then you can layer it. Like, there's so many ways to communicate with people. The greatest barrier for people being able to do that is repressed anger and rage. That's the biggie. Oh, look what happened. He said this about me. She said this about me. They're impugning my character. I have to defend myself. I have to defend my position. I'm right. You're wrong. God damn it. And you know what? That may be true. But that's not going to get us anywhere. It's just not. So you got to figure out how to get your point across, how to stand your ground. And at the same time, there's a way to sort of aikido these conversations and aikido these interactions. And it takes a little practice because we're all kind of raw and living on, and who the fuck wouldn't be? I mean, we have been through the ringer, the absolute ringer. Honestly, I'm surprised that most people have kept their shit together this long. And I'm not sure if it's a byproduct of apathy or monumental self-restraint. Perhaps it's a combination of the two. But we're here and we're all, for the most part, holding it together. We're coming into the danger zone here. And I really do think. All right, so let's just go over these scenarios a little bit. We got Israel pressure cooker. Somebody dropped on Twitter yesterday that what we're witnessing in Gaza is the new model for the planet. Just go in, destroy the existing infrastructure, and bulldoze everything. Hello, Lahaina. Hello, North Carolina. How is that different in some ways than what's going on in Gaza? If you believe that weather is a weapon, right? Whether it's intense, hot fires that start out of nowhere or these massive once-in-a-century storms that seem, well, to the paranoid mind, a little targeted. What's the difference between that and 1,000 shells dropped over Gaza? Probably not much. It's a different kind of delivery system. But the effect, maybe not so dissimilar, especially when you still follow what's happening in North Carolina. A lot of bulldozing going on there. A lot of spaces being condemned. You got animals that are dying. Almost like the effects of depleted uranium. Feels a lot like a war zone to me. So maybe this Mars-Pluto opposition is really just the official announcement. Oh, by the way, if you haven't paid attention, I think Congress just passed a bill, if I'm not mistaken, or perhaps somebody can look this up in chat, that women now can be drafted. And I think they were talking about it. I think it just got over the line. They're putting the pieces in place. So I think we have to have a conversation about the ultimate. I talked about this before with like Kennedy. And again, I'm a believer that Kennedy died that day. He was not going to make it out of Dealey Plaza. There were at least 3 to 4 other options. The final option would, and I'm not sure the people who were driving the car do it, but the final option was to ultimately just blow up the car. Like, he was not leaving Dealey Plaza that day. Period. Right? And we're kind of in the Dealey Plaza moment. And I do believe that the so-called powers that be, I don't think they want Donald Trump as president. I really, a lot of people say, well, he'll backdoor all these things because the Patriots will be on board and they'll just no, I don't think the Patriots would actually stand for it. There may be a portion of the MAGA crew that would do, oh yeah, we'll just trust the plan. There's a lot more free-thinking people out there, right? So I think they'd much rather have Harris. She fits the qualifications of DEI and ESG and all the stuff that goes along with their pogrom program. They don't really want Trump, even though he's going to have a lot of creepy insiders. Rick Grinnell, who's very close to Trump, is a fucking neocon. He's a neocon. He's a log cabin neocon. See, I can go there. I can go there with the right, the so-called right. But even then, I still don't think they want him because he's a wild card. He's got that Sun-Uranus conjunction. He's like nitroglycerin. Somebody like Kamala Harris is much easier to handle. Much easier. So I don't think they really want Trump, even though they may have people in place who will play along and be a part of the agenda. I don't think they want Trump. So if it looks like Trump is going to win the election, and clearly it looks like he's going to win the election, what would be the ultimate game changer? War. That's it. Right? Assassination doesn't work, whatever you think of it. The voting cheating, Won't work, right? What's the next option? War. Hello, right? That'll change the narrative real fast. There's your Mars-Pluto opposition. All right, let's get back to the basics. Let's talk about you. A lot of what we talked about yesterday is still in play, right? The Venus-Saturn square, tests of loyalty, tests of freedom, but also tests of commitment. Especially when you get into Pisces, Sagittarius, we begin to talk about religion and God and faith and, doing the right thing. Doing the right thing even though it doesn't feel right or it doesn't feel good. Right? That's the foundation of religion. You're going to do the right thing even though it doesn't feel good. Because feeling good is not always doing the right thing. In fact, feeling good is often doing the wrong thing. Because when you feel good, in most cases, in the quote-unquote Judeo-Christian, I hate the word Judeo, Christian model, usually is going to hurt somebody else. That one's pleasure will come at the expense of another, therefore there is greater pain. So this Venus-Saturn square gets into that conversation. Now, here's what I'm going to say. With this conjunction with Venus and Pallas, I think this is a really important conjunction. And Venus is going to get closer and closer to Pallas. So Venus is going to catch up to Pallas, and it's getting to get into a tighter square with Saturn. As far as relationships go, contracts and commitments, Pallas gives you pattern recognition, right? And you can see things that are coming. You can see things that are coming. And it's around relationship dynamics and commitment. Also connected to it are belief systems, religious and or otherwise. So with that information in hand, what do you do with it? What do you do? Do you double down and say, hey, it's okay, I'm in it to win it, and I'm here to back this person up and support this person? Knowing full well that you're not always going to be, rowing in the same direction in terms of, beliefs, religious and spiritual paradigms. It's a test. But that Pallas gives you a sense as to what's coming. And Venus and Sag wants to be expressive, authentic, and ultimately free. Right? Free to be in a union with another with the ultimate passkey, which is truth. And sharing that truth, even if it can be painful with the Venus-Saturn square. There can be tremendous growth here. And the growth comes through intense limitation. Now, with Pallas conjuncting Venus, you may see the intense limitation on the horizon and say, you know what? I may want to grow in a different direction. And that's all right. That's all right. In fact, you may have some of those feelings and what they call epiphanies today. With that moon in Leo. You just have to be watchful that it's not your ego, your vanity and pride that are making these decisions. Mercury, Saturn trine, still in there, Mercury separating a bit. If you want to focus, if you want to really lock in, laser beam your brain. It's a great trine. What else? Jupiter's moved into an exact sextile with Chiron and Aries. That gets into what I was talking about earlier in the realm of social interaction. Aries is like, off with their heads, literally off with their heads and put their head on a spike. But there's something redemptive about this Jupiter sextile with Chiron, finding a bigger way to move through the limitation and the pain, particularly with another. Okay, let's get into the THS star of the day. Running a bit behind, but I promise you we will be out of here by the top of the hour. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna go right into this because we're a little behind time. I'll skip the banner, but I will give a pitch here for our guy Chris over at True Hemp Science. Best CBD you'll find on the internet, bar none. I haven't tried every single CBD product out there. I've tried more than a few. Don't tell Chris that I've been unfaithful. But that was before he became a sponsor, so it doesn't count. But I've tried his products. In fact, last night, it's kind of a little wired. Watched my Warriors completely run the Portland Trailblazers out of the gym. So what did I do? I was tossing and turning a little bit. Next to my bed, sleep gummy. Pop went in. 15 minutes later, land a nod. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the product. And all you got to do is type in 15MINS, 15MINS, and you will get a free goodie bag with the purchase of $100 or more. $150 or more get you free shipping, and there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. TrueHempScience.com. All right, let's talk about the Krays. Today's a weird day in terms of personalities born on this day. Like, there's some criminal motherfuckers born on this day. You got the Krays. You also have Scott Peterson of Scott and Lacey Peterson fame. He's born today. You know who else is born today? And he's kind of a criminal motherfucker. Is Drake the rapper from Toronto. I believe he's from Toronto. Right, there's something a little sketchy about Drake. Got into that Kendrick beef. Kendrick started accusing him of, all these different things. Drake sold his house in California. I'm out of here. Right? I'm up north of the border. You can't touch me. So you got Drake, you got Scott Peterson, you have these two. Reggie and Ronnie Kray. They were notorious in England. They were thug gangsters, both of whom would ultimately wind up in prison. And they're twins. I believe the Kemp brothers from Spandau Ballet played the Krays in the movie The Krays. So they come up in England during a time where they're kind of tossed into this interesting world of swinging London and kind of sort of the Beatles, Beyond the Mercy beat, right? Like London is like this hip place, and somehow the Krays become this weird celebrated sort of cultural phenomenon. I think Reggie Kray winds up marrying somebody who's way out of his league, right? These are two hardcore working class psychopaths, and they get in a lot of trouble, and there's murder involved and all kinds of other notorious incidents around the Krays. And they're twins, okay? So it's an interesting look at twins. So that's Reggie. He's older. He's the older twin. He's 5 minutes older. That's Ronnie. And just look at their charts and look how fucking insane these charts are. These charts are so complex that you would have to share them across two beings. The 12th house, of course, is related to what? Prison. Hello, they got Chiron there. In what sign? Gemini. They both wind up there. Something happens to these kids between the age of 2 and 4. I don't know what happened. Something happened to them. And I think that it set them on their life of crime. Cancer rising. So they take things very personally, right? What's the first planet we run into? It's Pluto. And what's it doing? It's wreaking havoc in their chart. Pluto Sun square, Pluto Moon opposition. That's the Widowmaker. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, Reggie Kray's wife, after 6 months after they divorced, she fucking committed suicide. Well, did she commit suicide? I don't know. Did he ever kill? I don't know. But she's dead. right? That's kind of it's usually Venus, Pluto, which is the Widowmaker, but Moon, Pluto, pretty damn close. So Sun square Pluto, Sun square Moon, Sun opposition Uranus. In both charts, they're psychopaths. They're so I would say they're sociopaths because they have that's kind of society sort of accepted them because I mean, look, Reggie, as far as men go, he's probably like passable as a good-looking guy. Good-looking people get better treatment, by the way. Don't ever forget that. They get better treatment. Ronnie, on the other hand, like he got the best genes. He's firstborn. He got the next best. What's interesting about them is the Mars-Venus conjunction. And it's in Sagittarius. So we talk about how Mars-Venus is sort of strangely, like at times intersexual, can be male, can be female, right? The weird thing about these two guys is one is heterosexual and one is homosexual. Like, so one takes on, I'm going to say one takes on the position of Venus and the other takes on the position of Mars. Ronnie is the homosexual. Reggie is the heterosexual. At least who knows? Maybe he swung both ways. But it kind of split down the middle with these two guys, right? And it's that Venus-Mars conjunction. So and this is my feeling about twins, is that they share traits. And some of those traits are either the positive or the negative. Or when I say positive, negative, I'm not talking about like, this person's positive and that person's a negative person. It's more like, electricity and polarity. Like one will have a plus trait, the other will have a minus trait, but they won't be always in the same category. Like that's my take on twins. They share this chart together, but they'll have slightly different traits. Number one, because their ascendants are not the same. And number two, I just think that's how twin charts roll. And they both have Moon and Capricorn in the 7th house. And I'd love to know what their relationship with their mother is. Clearly, Moon and Capricorn, she may not have had enough empathy or care for either one of them, let alone two. And then you get that Pluto opposition. So in relationship, they're looking for their mother, ultimately. Or maybe in Ronnie's case, he becomes the mother. I don't know. But these are very complex charts, extremely complex. And they have the true node in Aquarius. And it's in the 9th house, right? And so they have Pisces on the midheaven. And the thing about the Krays, which is interesting, is the mythologizing of the Krays. Like they're mythologized. They made a fucking movie about them. They were so violent and so antisocial. But at the same time, they're like, wearing Savile Row suits and, probably snapping their fingers at the Tom Jones concert, right? Like that's who these guys are. And so they become mythologized. And they're kind of deeply branded into sort of this cultural framework, like Ronnie Biggs in The Great Train Robbery. Like there are these characters that show up in the 60s in England who are very interesting, kind of anarchistic, certainly living outside the bounds of the law. So they have their true node in Aquarius. Are they supposed to be here for the betterment of man? I don't know. Or are they just supposed to like build a global organization and have a gang, right? Because gangs are Aquarian. Gangs are teams. Teams are Aquarian. Now they do have a grand trine here with Jupiter. Jupiter trine Saturn, trine Chiron, Jupiter and Libra. They're charming. I think that's the, if you're looking for the dark magic of the Krays, it's that Jupiter trine. Jupiter and Libra is charming, especially in the 5th house. You know, they're out, they're at the horse races, they're gaming, wearing their Savile Row suits, right? They look the part. Ooh, I'm going to be a Kray. Look at them. Those are real men. Well, at least one of them's a real man. Who knows? Maybe Ronnie was more of a real man than Reggie. I don't know. These are to me, these are fascinating charts. Like we could get into this for an hour at least. Like when I get a client who has a chart like this, you better put some money on the meter. There's a lot to work through here. And by the way, this is a classic splash chart because they have planets in more than 9 houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm including Chiron, by the way. So classic splash chart. Huge amounts of water, very little earth. So they're not ground. You know, that's one of the things. Like if you have a lot of earth in your chart, I tend to think that there's probably 2 ways that you go with that. One, you're probably a bit more ethical because you have to deal with the world and live in the world. The other side of having a lot of earth is that you want to master earth. And in some cases, that won't always be ethical. But man, they are running off of heavy water here, heavy duty water. They have some air, which isn't too bad. Saturn, Jupiter, True Node, Chiron, and a lot of fire. What do you get when you put fire and water together? You get steam, right? Steam. So these guys they're like a water boiler. What is water boiler? It creates steam heat. Like, you know, and what do water boilers do from time to time? They explode. They both end their lives in pretty bad shape. I think one dies in prison, the other gets out of prison and dies. Like, you know, they kind of have a glorious beginning and they have a absolutely dreadful end. Absolutely dreadful end. Boys and girls, crime doesn't pay. Just remember that. All right, we're out of here. Come join us over on 15 minutes and or well, it's going to be 15 minutes. We'll be on Boxcast. We'll be on Rumble and hang out with us. We're going to ask the question, is Kamala cooking or cooked? And I have some very interesting websites that I ran across that are and have been clearly created to portray Kamala Harris as a domestic goddess. Can you believe that? I can't either. Anyway, please join us. All right, take good care. Take care of each other. Treat each other well. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to set what's possible. God bless. Bye for now.